A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers Chandigarh edition. From today's news analysis, the following topics seem to be more important. So one is the issue of stubble burning, which we have been discussing. So this issue of stubble burning has come up to the Supreme Court. So some of the observations of the Supreme Court will be covered. And besides, I have some short notes, handwritten notes during my preparation days. So this helped me do well in the exam. So that also I will show. Then we have an explainer on India's hypertension. So it is titled as India Hypertension Map. And we are talking about this because the WHO has released its report on hypertension, which is Global Report on Hypertension. Who has released it? WHO. This is all prelims is going to ask you. But since this issue is there, from mains point of view also, we should prepare. Chetak and Cheetah helicopters to be replaced, which helicopters, which engines are they using, all those things can be seen for prelims. Then like hypertension, there is a report on TB, tuberculosis. So that again we can cover. And India has the highest incidence of tuberculosis. 27% of the global case burden is coming from India. Then moving on to the editorial opinion section. So odd even policy is covered again. Very briefly, we'll see it. Then global economy, how is global economy faring and its implications for India? So there is an opinion on this. Briefly, we'll cover. I have seen questions being asked on these lines. But that is like most recent event, then it is asked, but we should have the practice of doing it. Then deepfakes, an important issue. So again, it is repeated. So there is an editorial, there is an opinion. The focus today is more on how to regulate it. Yesterday we covered it, but it was not mentioned in the news analysis. Plus, I'll share this article with you from AT&T about deepfakes. So you can use this as a reference material for preparing a short notes. I would always advise you to prepare your short notes for mains. I would advise not for prelims, so that your revision work, reduces drastically. You don't have to refer to the net all over again. So that saves time. G7 meeting is taking place in Tokyo, and 16th Finance Commission process has started. Previously, 2018, when the 15th Finance Commission was being finalized. So when the Finance Commission is to be finalized, the union government issues the terms of reference. That is the overall objectives of the Finance Commission. This was asked in the mains. So you see, so 5 years, 2023, 2024 cycle. So again, Finance Commission is coming up. We can have similar question again. Okay, now coming to the front page. So this is about stubble burning. So as I said, the issue of stubble burning has come to the Supreme Court, and they have directed all states around Delhi to deal with the issue of stubble burning now. You deal with the issue now, long-term plan, etc., can come later on. So do immediate measures what are required. And with regards to Punjab, Supreme Court has taken a strict note. They are saying that higher incidence of stubble burning is taking place, and this needs to be addressed. Right. Yesterday we saw there was this article of satellite imagery which showed that 65% of the stubble burning is coming from Punjab. Okay. And it has directed that SHOs, the police officers, should be made responsible for Chief Secretary to deal with the issue of stubble burning. So that is one observation. And second thing it said that stubble burning for various reasons are there, but one of the reasons is usage of a specific variety of paddy in Punjab. Specific variety of paddy in Punjab, which is Pusa 44. So let's understand this. You see, stubble burning, it happens, with the agricultural cycle, there is this Kharif cycle, and then there is the Rabi cycle. So Kharif cycle is this the monsoonal months that are there from April to October, November, and then October, November to April, the Baisakhi time. So Rabi wheat crop is to be grown. So the in between, the turnaround time should be there so that the Kharif is cleared and then the Rabi is sown. So this time is, if the crop cycle is longer, for example, Pusa 44 is being grown and it is 160 days. So it does not offer adequate time for Rabi cultivation to take place. So the farmers use shortcut of burning the crops. So Pusa 44 is one of the reasons. It is advised that Punjab shifts to early yielding variety of paddy, that is Pusa 121 and PR 126. Okay. Yes. So I was showing you. So this is how I started doing this, preparing my handwritten notes. It helped me. Okay. So yeah. So here all the points are mentioned over here with regards to the types of crops, the problems, the reasons, everything is covered. Yeah. Pusa 121 and Pusa 44 takes 160 days. So grow 121 and PR 126. Then other measures are residue incorporation, using of happy seeder machine, custom hiring for these machines to be utilized because these machines are capital intensive, so that can be done, plus converting of straw to ethanol. So I would advise you to do the same because every time referring to the articles and even UPSC related websites will take time. And this is a very static, repeatedly asked topic which is there in the news. So you can do work on these lines. Okay, so we are done with this stubble burning issue. I wrote this, then later I found it somewhere in small letters that Pusa 44 was mentioned. Here, Pusa 44. Yes, one more important news. A third of families in Bihar live on rupees 6,000 or less per month. This data is coming from the caste survey report. So Castesensus, which was there in the news earlier, so now it is saying that one third of the families are living below 6,000. Why are they talking about 6,000? They're saying 6,000 because 6,000 is considered as the basic below poverty line for them. It is 6,000 rupees for Bihar. Okay. So now whereas Castesensus, it is telling for everybody one third. Now it will give us a breakup of which castes, which communities are further below this line. For instance, it says, it brings out that one third of the total population is below 6,000, but scheduled caste is 43.93. One third is 33%. So a higher share of people from the lower caste is coming into the below poverty line. Extremely backward classes, they are 33.58%. So they are more or in line. Likewise, it is giving us data about the people living in CHHA houses and the share of the caste-wise breakup also it is giving. So this is one of the perceived benefits of the caste census. Okay, next, in farm fire epicenter, farmers, mainly talking about Punjab, blame paddy variety, Pusa 44, okay, and lack of viable options. So what is this viable options? You don't have to read this article. Viable option is, one is, of course, Pusa 44. So variety of crops, other variety of crops should be procured. The seed should be provided. So that could be one of the possibilities. Then viable option of burning of the stubble, that there is not adequate time between the Kharif and Rabi season. Farmer does not have a choice. They have to do this. Plus it is cost intensive to physically remove the stubble. So labor cost is involved. So that is there. Plus management of stubble again. So that can also be covered. So there is no viable option. What to do with the stubble that is there? So either you convert, there is option. We know that there is conversion of possibility of converting to ethanol or bio waste or whatever, biogas. But that ecosystem is not there as of now. So the government needs to push. Farmer says, what can we do in that? Now we come to the explained section. Your hypertension issue is mentioned over here. So before that, we will look at what is happening with Subansiri River, which is a tributary of Brahmaputra. Right, you can see it on the map over here. Okay. So Subansiri River, why is it there in the news? So first of all, Subansiri River is a tributary of Brahmaputra and it is passing through Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. And first it comes via the Tibet region. Now here in the Subansiri River, a dam was to be created. Ignore this for the time being. Ignore this image. Just imagine this. This is the flow of the river, normal river. There is a hill. The water is flowing downwards. So the water flows as always. Now dam was to be created. Fine. So dam work was to be done on this. Now to create a dam, an earthen dam is the path is basically blocked so that this area is cleared on which the dam construction work can be done. And so with the surplus water that is flowing, which is now blocked, for this alternative channels are created so that the water can flow from other directions, so that the main path of the river on this dam can be created. Now water is flowing and the water can flow from the other paths. So this work was going on, and during this time, a large part of the hill on which this construction was going on, there a landslide happened, and therefore the river path is choked. So no water is flowing. So that is why the Subansiri River is running dry. Okay, so that's the overall issue. So they are trying to, they're saying that in some time the water will again start flowing. Okay, and after this, the article starts explaining this mechanism. Okay, so what is there? This river, earthen dam is created, a temporary dam is created for the time being, and spillways are created for the water to pass through it. Now, once the dam work is constructed, the water is allowed to pass through it. There are these gates that are created and the water is allowed to pass through it. And besides, there are spillways created, small pipes, channels are created, which is directed through a turbine. So this water goes in high pressure, it runs a turbine and electricity is generated. So working of the dam is basically covered over here. Okay, next. Lot of lot of this watermelon symbol is being used to for Palestinian issue. So basically in US and other countries, Palestinian supporters, etc., are banned from using the Palestinian flag. So they are using watermelon because it is looking like the Palestinian flag, red, green, and black. And a bit of white is also there. Now moving on to the hypertension map. India's hypertension map over here. So we have this UN report on hypertension, global report on hypertension, and besides we have data from the recently released National Family Health Survey, and it has raised concerns with regards to the hypertension incidence in India. Okay, now I hope you know hypertension is basically blood pressure, and if it is not addressed, then this may lead to prolonged issue of blood pressure related ailments, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes. So other diseases may also flow out of hypertension. So one good way of treating these serious non-communicable diseases is deal with the issue of hypertension first. Okay, so National Family Health Survey has come up and they have also pointed out this issue. So they are saying overall, there is a prevalence of 28.1%. So 28.1% of the population is affected by hypertension. Of this 28%, 36% is diagnosed. So you can imagine, let's say this is 100% of this 28%. Of this 28%, 36% is diagnosed. Of this, 17% is treated and treatment is there, and of this, about half is getting cured. controlled or cured. So that's a very small share as compared to the overall population. It's a very serious issue. Right, so this needs to be dealt with. Now, what can be done? So, first of all, the WHO report says that if India deals with this issue, then 4.6 million deaths can be prevented by 2040. 4.6 would be 46 lakh deaths can be prevented. Right, so that has to be done. And plus, many people can be prevented from getting diabetes. 75 million people with hypertension or diabetes should be put on treatment by 2025. Okay, what can be done? So this has been there in the news for some time. So first of all, there should be screening. Simple screening at primary healthcare centers. There should be a screening. When anybody goes to the hospital, let's say, especially those above the 30 years age group who are more vulnerable, simply just check their BP. So primary healthcare centers, this facility should be there, which is not there. So screening should take place. If it is identified, so it is diagnosed, so then in that case, doctors should be there to administer medicine. So availability of medicine should be there. And this is a continuous treatment, so there should be continuous follow-ups. Right, follow-ups from the ASHA workers or somebody, so that it is ensured that continuous medicine is provided and treatment is being taken by the concerned person. It's very simple. Screening, diagnosis, medicine should be available, doctors, medical staff should be there, and follow-ups. These are the 3 steps that needs to be taken. Dr. Tandon says continuum of care and not just screening and diagnosis is crucial, right? So continuous care is required for this. Most of our parents have this actually, medicines have to be taken continuously. Okay, so that's it. Now, one more dimension this article opens up. It says that we need to have data with regards to the states, like within the state. So there is the state. So within the states, there may be certain pockets which are more vulnerable. Maybe there are certain pockets where medical staff treatment availability is there. There is not there. So that should be there. Likewise, within the districts, there will be disparity. So we need to have intrastate and intra-district, or interstate or inter-district. In a way, both mean the same thing. So that should be done. Next, you must have heard recently that Prime Minister announced that Pradhan Mantri Gramin Kalyan Anna Yojana, Anna means grain, food, has been extended for the next 5 years. That is what Prime Minister has promised. So this explainer section is basically saying what does it mean for fiscally, is it sustainable or not? Okay. Now, first of all, from where is this coming? So when the Congress was there in 2013, they announced the National Food Security Act. The idea was that nobody should die, nobody should suffer from hunger, and food grains should be available at a very subsidized rate at the PDS, and more people should be covered. So according to the NFSA, which said that the right to food is a right, so it covered 50% of the urban population and 75% of the rural population, which roughly translates into 67.5% of the population. Presently, this amounts to 80 crore of the population. 80 crore out of 1.3 of the population, 1.3, 1.4. So this was the NFSA. Food shall be available at a very, very nominal cost. For example, rice at rupees 3, rice, wheat at rupees 2, millets at rupees 1. And this price was fixed at that time for 3 years. This was later extended. So this is the National Food Security Act. Okay. When the COVID period took place, the government came up with Pradhan Mantri Gramin Kalyan Anna Yojana. And it said that the food grains should be available at free of cost, given the problem that was there. So at free of cost, these food grains should be made available. In fact, rupees 321 is also as good as free. Okay, so this was there. So this was again a temporary arrangement during the COVID years. Now this has been extended for the next 5 years. Okay, now coming to the cost burden. So first of all, the fiscal deficit is around 6.4%. It is already very high. Extension of this scheme was again a temporary measure. Now extending this has a bearing on the fiscal burden, fiscal deficit, whichever way term you want to use. Okay. So this will increase the government food subsidy bill. The food subsidy bill of the government at the moment is 2022-2023 data we have. So the government budgeted was 2.06 lakh 831 crores. 2.06831 crores. 2 lakh. Okay, so this was the budgeted expenditure. With the extension, this may increase. So with the extension of the scheme, this thing will increase. So the data they are saying is 15,000 crores per month for implementing the scheme into 12. So that makes it 1.8 lakh crores. Now, just for a reference sake, when the scheme was introduced during the COVID time, the food subsidy bill had increased to 5.41 lakh crores. So from roughly 2 lakh crores, it had gone to 5.41 lakh crores during the COVID years. Okay, so this will have a bearing on the food subsidy bill. Coming to the normal news now, national news. Army plans to start replacing Chetak and Cheetah helicopters. Cheetah helicopters you must have seen in some movies also. So let me just show you. This is a Cheetah helicopter. This one is a Cheetah helicopter. This is one of the only helicopter which can fly over the CHHA. Cheetah, very small helicopter. Chetak is one with the wheels actually. So this is again they are showing. Yeah, this is the Chetak helicopter over here. So they are to be replaced. They are reaching their end of life cycle over there. Okay. So they will be replaced with other helicopters. So they'll be replaced with one second. Dhruv helicopter, actually light utility helicopter, also known as the Dhruv helicopter. So this they are saying it is 30% more efficient, advanced as compared to Cheetah Chetak, and HAL Prachand, which is actually light combat helicopter, which is now known as HAL Prachand. It looks something like Apache. Right, so these two helicopters will be replacing this. This is again HAL Prachand or light combat helicopter. Now, when I was browsing through this, came across that these helicopters have the Shakti engine. The Shakti engine is made jointly by a French company, and this name is Safran Ardiden and Hindustan Aeronautical Limited. So they both of them have made this engine. So Ardiden engines, right? So this company that has made the engine, Shakti engine with HAL. Okay, next. Supreme Court has said that firecrackings having barium, firecrackings which have barium and this bannic hemixa and these chemicals, barium and some other banned chemicals. So those are not allowed anywhere in the country, not just around Delhi, but anywhere in the country they are not allowed. So barium based and these other banned substances, because of the polluting effect and noise pollution, they are not allowed. And Supreme Court has made it clear that they are not banning the use of firecrackers, only the firecrackers which have these prohibited elements. Next, India has the highest number of TB cases globally. So already mentioned, India has 27% of the global burden. which is very, very high. Okay. And the WHO recently released the Global TB report. Now, if you compare it with other countries, Indonesia is 10, China is 7%, Philippines 7%, Pakistan 5.7. So it's not good. Okay. And there is with TB 12% fatality ratio. So those who are affected of this 12% are likely to die. Now, TB is a bacterial disease. It's a bacterial disease and it is caused by mycobacteria. Right? So it is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacteria, MTB. Okay, so TB. Now TB requires prolonged use of antibiotics, and it has to be used continuously. Many people leave their treatment, they get fed up, and the TB then gets drug resistant. And this is known as multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. So this is a major health epidemic as far as India is concerned. So antimicrobial resistance, etc., can again, you can club with this issue. So now, what is the government doing to deal with this issue? So the government has the National TB Elimination Program. They want to eliminate TB by 2025, 5 years before the global target. Read it somewhere, I can't find it over here. So, but you know what? When this 2022, it was saying 21.4 lakh cases. The newspaper is saying 28 lakh cases are there. So it is actually increased since the inception of the scheme. Anyways, so in this will include intensified door-to-door active case finding drives. So that has to be done. Then community engagement. So that will be done. And then increasing the diagnostic capability. So these are certain steps that are part of this initiative. I'll share this on a Telegram channel. Plus National Strategic Plan on Tuberculosis. I got this over here. Right, eliminating tuberculosis by 2025, free of cost diagnosis and treatment. 500 per patient shall be given. Election news now. Moving on to the editorial and the opinion section. So odd and even again. So this is with regards to Delhi, that certain days odd numbered vehicles will ply. On certain other days, even number vehicles will ply. The idea is to reduce the number of vehicles so that less pollution is created. Okay, so they say again. So previously this was in 2017. Odd and even was introduced. So now again from November 13th to November 20th, they will be introducing odd and even scheme. And this will help keep out 12 lakh vehicles. Now, if you want to introduce, what the article is saying, that if you want to introduce odd and even to keep the vehicles away, then adequate urban infrastructure, public urban transport infrastructure should be there. Right? So there should be adequate amount of bus fleet. The metro network should be expanded, which it has been expanded, but it is still not adequate enough to carry the burden, the excess burden. And for all this, there should be last mile connectivity. So even yesterday we talked about that this is odd and even as part of a larger picture of urban pollution. And so one is the odd and even. Then we should focus on transit-oriented development. That is public transport development should be in line with that. And besides e-mobility, etc. So those were the points we discussed. Next is steady in a changing world. This is India's economy and the global economy. So India's economy is steady in the changing world. So India's economic prospects are shaped by local and global development, what is happening in India and global developments, and the cyclical factors of shocks and structural changes. So these are explained, elaborated over here. So what are the challenges before India, basically? Long story cut short. So the cyclical aspects are the US Fed decides to increase the interest rates, the slow global growth, right? Persistent shocks like in the Middle East, etc. So they are mentioned as cyclical aspects. Now talking about the slowing global growth. So according to the World Bank, the global growth is coming down. Previously, it was 3.5%. In the last decade, it has come down to 2.6%. And now the projection has come down to 2.2%. So the global growth is coming down. So that means India's exports, etc., will also come down. It will have a bearing on Indian economy. So this is the cyclical aspects. Next is globally inflation remains the dominant concern, and yeah, okay. So if there is globally developed economies, particularly, they have higher inflation, so they may increase the Fed rate. Money will go flow outside of India. Capital flow will take place outside of India. Plus, US, these developed economies, uh, you know, the federal bank wants to keep less money in the economy, so less stimulus, so less money to spend, so less exports, prospects for exports from India, like IT sector, etc., will get affected. And this makes what makes matter worse for us is that in the recent times, our economic exposure to EU, US has increased. So when these economies are suffering, then Indian economy, the impact is much more. Then the concern associated with the flare in crude oil prices. So you can already see in this starting of the year, the crude prices were at $60 per barrel. It has gone up to $83 per barrel, and it can shoot up to as much as $110 per barrel. So this has a bearing on Indian economy. So how many points? Cyclical, global inflation, prolonged more exposure to EU and US, crude prices, and last one, Indian economy, the focus is on creating public infrastructure, both global and physical. But the infrastructure that India is creating, it is carbon intensive. And with the idea of climate change, etc., the notion that is increasing, so that is greater consciousness of carbon reduction should be there. So this may have a bearing on the Indian economy at large. Like, for example, we can take the example of European Union. So they have said exports coming from anywhere in the world, they should adjust for carbon. So carbon border adjustment mechanism. That is, EU is focusing on sustainability. If somebody is exporting, if EU is importing from elsewhere at a much cheaper cost, and that cheapness is because of the other country is not focusing on sustainability, so that price will be adjusted, so additional tax would be there. So India has to prepare brace for that as well. Next, deep fake challenge. This article and this article both deal with the issue of deep fakes. So first of all, what is a deep fake? You should have the definition of the deep fake, right? So you read for yourself. I think my news analysis is stretching a bit. So what is a deep fake? You should know. This article I'll share. Then what are the concerns associated with it? There is a possibility of political manipulation. There is a possibility of creating disinformation campaigns. It may lead to loss of dignity and reputation if the fake video is created in a derogatory way. So it may affect one's dignity and reputation. And it may also be used to flare up communalization, communal tensions. Right, so that may be also there. So it's a common sense. If there is a question, you should have a definition of deep fakes. It's a fake video created by AI based on the data that is the database that this thing has. Okay, this is the concerns. Now, what needs to be done? Now, as to the deep fakes, it has a life cycle. The first is creation, second is dissemination, sharing, and third is detection. Right. So either these three things can be targeted: creation, dissemination, and detection. So one is you stop people from creating; dissemination, social media, putting regulations on social media that take down request, content moderation. So that can be done. Then talking about detection, the Indian government itself had advised that there should be watermark for AI detection. That is, if a deepfake is created, then there should be a watermark or a logo which says that this thing was created, this video was created via AI. And lastly, AI itself can be used to detect deepfakes, and maybe that can be watermarked or that can be used in content moderation. So these are the measures. And besides, this is not sufficient. Besides, to implement all this, since the IT, the deepfakes, AI is a global has a global element to it, we need a global regulation, global framework. We need a global regulatory guardrail. So steps like Bletchley Declaration, Washington Plan, so those may be incorporated. Bletchley Declaration was Bletchley Park Declaration, which took place in the UK recently. It basically said the risks associated with the AI and the need for a global framework to deal with this issue. That was the Bletchley Declaration. The Washington Plan is the new standards for AI safety and security. It says that they have created this template framework which other countries can emulate. So that can be done. And one of the things that US itself is doing is it has come up with the idea of red teaming. Red teaming means the developers who are making AI algorithm, etc., they have to share their algorithm with the US federal bodies, and they can then request if a particular small tweak is required, or they can direct that the complete software should be discarded, that there is a perceived risk and it should be avoided. Next article, sickness in the air. So this is about air pollution. Air pollution can cause chronic disease, cancer, and this needs to be treated. Right? I'm not doing this. I think you know adequately what mitigation measures are required, what diseases can be caused, pulmonary, cardiovascular, breathing ailments, all those things. Hypertension is also one of the issues. How to kill industry. So this is about the online gaming. Gaming, the GST is at what, 28%. It's significantly high. And online gaming, the thing is that people, play this Ludo, what is that? Ludo, Rummy, and all those things. Personally, I don't like that. Okay. So they make these payments and then they earn money. So that is an incentive for people to play. But this high taxation of 28% is exorbitant. Of course, it is. And it will discourage people to trade, because whatever profit, let's say they make 100 rupees, of this 28 will be taken by the government. So this is at this level. At the same time, at the level of the profits of the, at the level of the transaction that is taking place at the gaming level, when people have made the contribution. Next, this is international news. So Israel is saying that after this Gaza thing, Israel will take complete responsibility of Gaza's security. So Israel will take complete responsibility. So that is one thing. US has been saying what would be happening after post Gaza violence. So that is what Israel is saying. Second, they are saying is about the ceasefire and humanitarian process. So Israel is saying nothing doing till the time hostages are not released. Then we will talk. UN Human Rights Commission is saying this is terrible, what is happening, right? And this should be stopped at the earliest. US, the G7 meeting is taking place at Tokyo. G7 leaders are mentioned: Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Italy. US wants consensus with the G7 on the Gaza issue. And what US basically wants is, they are saying that they are not saying that violence should be stopped. They are saying humanitarian pauses should be there. That is one thing. Second is post Gaza process. What will after how the reconstruction will take place? What will be the system of administration of after Israel goes away from Gaza? So all those things. NATO formally suspends Cold War era security treaty as Russia pulls out. NATO now comprises of 31 countries, and it has decided to come out of remove the treaty known as Conventional Armed Forces in Europe Treaty. So this treaty basically meant that, imagine this is Russia, this is Europe, so this is the mutual border. So there will be less militarization in the mutual border, so that there is a de-escalation of tension between the two blocs. So Russia has come out of this, and thereby NATO has formally closed this treaty. Government begins process of constituting 16th Finance Commission. So Finance Commission is a constitutional body. It comes, the president appoints it, and on the basis of Article 280 of the Constitution. The Finance Commission will advise the government for the tenure of 2026 to 20, from the period beginning 2026, 2027 plus 5 years. Plus onwards. Okay, the main recommendations of the Finance Commission are they do a lot of things, but the main thing is about sharing of revenue. Union collects taxes, like more bulk of the taxes go to the union. So how this money will be devolved from the union to the states? So what will be the devolution? Like how much will the union keep? For example, union keeps 60%, states get 40%, and of this, how is the money distributed amongst the states? For example, Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal, Tamil Nadu. So how this money is then given amongst the state? What is the formula? So that is the responsibility of the Finance Commission. Finance Commission gives the recommendations to the president, and then it is for the government to decide if they agree with it or not. According to me, the 14th Finance Commission is the most